Hi, my name is Kelly Schaefer, and this is my week 3 video log on articulation. The phrase is sitting on the beach, and there are 7 consonants in that phrase. The first consonant sound is the S sound in sitting. It is a lingua alveolar fricative, and it is voiceless. So the vocal folds will not vibrate, but air will pass through up into the vocal tract. The velum will be raised to seal off the nasal cavity and allow air into the vocal tract, into the oral cavity, The tongue is going to touch the alveolar ridge, but air is going to pass through to make the voiceless S sound. The next sound is the T sound. It is a lingua alveolar stop, and it is voiceless as well. So the vocal cords will not vibrate, but air will pass through the vocal tract. The velum is going to be raised to seal off the nasal cavity, and air is going to flow into the oral cavity. The tongue touches the alveolar ridge to stop the air, and then we let the air burst out to create a voiceless T sound. The next sound is the ing sound. It is a lingua palatal sound. It is a nasal sound, and it is voiced. So because it's voiced, our vocal folds will start vibrating. Air is going to come up through the vocal tract, and our velum is going to be lowered to allow air up into the nasal cavity. The tongue is going to touch the hard palate, and air is going to flow through the oral cavity and the nasal cavity, producing the voiced ing sound. The next sound is the N sound. It is a lingua alveolar nasal sound, and it is also voiced. So the vocal folds will start vibrating, sending air up through the vocal tract. Our velum is going to be lowered to allow that air up into the nasal cavity. The tongue is going to meet the alveolar ridge, and air is going to pass through the oral and the nasal cavity, producing the voiced N sound. The next sound is the V sound in the. It is a lingua dental fricative, and it is voiced. So because it's voiced, the vocal folds will begin vibrating, sending air up through the vocal tract. It is not a nasal sound, so the velum is going to be raised to seal off the nasal cavity, and air is going to flow into the oral cavity. The tongue touches the front teeth, and air is pushed through to create the voiced V sound. The next sound is the B sound. It is a bilabial stop, and it is voiced. So because it's voiced, the vocal folds will begin vibrating, sending air up through the vocal tract. The velum is going to be raised to seal off the nasal cavity and make air flow into the oral cavity. It's a bilabial sound, so the 2 lips will come together to stop the air, and then the air will be released or burst out to make the voiced B sound. And then the last sound is the Ch sound. It's a lingua palatal sound. It is an affricate, and it is voiceless. So because it's voiceless, the vocal folds will not vibrate, but they will send air up through the vocal tract. The velum will be raised to seal off the nasal cavity, and air will be sent into the oral cavity. It is a lingua palatal, so the tongue is going to touch the hard palate in the mouth, and then air is partially blocked at that point, and then air is also passed through to create a voiceless Ch sound. Thank you.